I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Tim is out of pocket, had a funeral associated with one of his employees. And so he's not likely to be here. And so I'll call the meeting to order. And Gene, would you lead us in an invocation, give us some strength to have a really good meeting?
Sure. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we're so thankful that once again we can come to you and invoke your presence even in this meeting. Father, first of all, bless each one that's on the call today. Open our minds to receive your grace. Father, we pray a special blessing for those that are struggling, even in our communities and abroad, because of the pandemic. We pray especially for the first responders and the care workers who have put themselves in harm's way to provide comfort and healing for those that are suffering. Father, thank you so much for the council that has served this year. We thank you for their wisdom and their devotion to the city, and we pray for the incoming council, that they likewise may have the interests of the citizens of Odessa in mind in making decisions, whatever they may be. Continue to bless us, bless those that are not on the call. We just pray that you will comfort them and protect them so that they can come back and serve as they have been before. And Father, bless each one of us that are on the call today in a special way. Those who are selflessly giving of their time and energy and talents to make this portion of your world just a little bit better. We just pray that our deliberations today will have the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood as we move forward. This is our prayer in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Yeah. Thank you, Gene. I really appreciate that part about the brotherhood and sisterhood. That's one of the things I think that I've been so appreciative of with my brief serving on this board, that we've really had some good, productive, professional meetings, and appreciate all of you who are contributing to that. At this time, I know you have the minutes you've had in advance, and I would entertain a motion regarding the approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye or thumb.
Aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The minutes are approved as presented. Contractors reports. Wesley, the Economic Development Department of the Chamber.
Yes, sir. Can everyone see my screen? I don't have to share. If you'd rather just look on your own reports, it's up to y'all.
I didn't.
No, we can see it.
Yeah, I think this is helpful to have it in front of us.
Okay, I'll try to keep up with everyone's report as we go. So hopefully you had a chance to look over our report. As you can probably imagine, there's a lot of no updates on our report. There's a lot of ongoings. We continue to get a lot of follow-up phone calls, follow-up Zoom calls with some of these prospects that are just still waiting on a few things. Now we're hitting the end of the year, and honestly, some of them are waiting till the new year in order to see what 2021 looks like. But we hope it's a little bit better from a lot of fronts. But we have been pretty active. We do have two fairly large prospects. Both of those are starting discussions. One is just in the beginning phases. One, as you might know, continues to move forward. We're going to begin discussions on some incentives on a project out in Pinwell that we've been talking about for a while. The school district and I are going to have a meeting next week, Tracy as well, to start talking about their portion of some incentives for possibly some of these projects as well. So All that to say, the discussions are ongoing, and there's just a lot of information, a lot of folks, a lot of team players to bring in and make sure everybody understands and feels comfortable with what's going on. So, we are actively promoting property that is available. We are a great resource. We always have been, but it does seem like there is some renewed interest in some property and some different things going on, some expansions and some growth going on locally, believe it or not. So we're just going to continue to do what we're doing. Obviously, the two big projects that are out west Ector County are top of the list, and we're doing all we can to make sure we're accommodating everything that they're asking us to do. And appreciate the support of the board and the council and everybody involved in everything that we're doing. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on anything that's in the report that you might have a question on. If not, that'd be my report.
Wesley, I do have one question. I'm assuming that, with the number of these items that says no update, if that project, the potential in that project, basically evaporated, you would remove it from the list. So if we read this report, just because it says no update, doesn't mean that the interest has waned to the point where there's no chance of it happening. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm glad you asked that question. We did actually have some files from if it's more than a year or so and we haven't got an update or we're not moving on, we're pretty much, we will put that inactive and set it aside, but always leave it in some form that we could refresh it if we needed to, but more than likely it would begin anew as a new project. So some of these were oil and gas related. We're growing really great. And then, what happened, and they literally are just waiting. So I hesitate to take some of these off, but if they do develop or not develop into anything and there just is nothing going to happen, we try to make sure that is assured to us by the folks we were talking to. And if that's the case, we put them on an inactive list and take them, we note it 1 month as inactive, and then we'll remove them from the activity report.
Okay. Any other?
I have a comment also. Wesley, that I guess maybe a couple of years ago, we agreed to subsidize some of the road projects when Tryon Lewis was over that state agency, so that some of these projects would move up in the on the priority list. And I don't know who's reporting on the progress of that, but one of the projects was the 87th Street 385 interchange, where we've had all of those fatalities. And we were very instrumental in contacting the highway department and Judge Lewis and others to get that going. And I guess we were so successful that they pulled it off of our list and put it on the emergency list. But that project has started, thank God. They have started working on that. And I think the ODC deserves some credit. And even though we didn't end up financing it or having the match funds, we did put the type of pressure to get it going. And the people out here north of town are elated over it. But there were some that we did fund, and I was just wondering who's keeping up with the progress of those projects.
Well, Cindy and Robert probably have a better grip on that. The mayor did ask for that allocation. It was, I think, 15 million we set aside, and we have spent money and we have allocated some. There are still some left, and the accounting of that, Cindy from finance, Cindy Muncie is going to be able to answer that question. But I do know that the funds that we did put towards other projects allowed TxDOT to release some of their funds to make other projects move up the list as well. So it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. It might not have gone specifically to the 87th, but it might have gone to something else, and it made that prioritize up higher. So I do believe there is credit to be given to the ODC in that set aside in the overall big pictures. But I'll let Cindy.
But Wesley, also Motran monitors those projects as well. So I would expect that either James or Dustin from time to time would update us on the progress of those projects too.
Absolutely. Didn't mean to take away from what Motran is doing as well. I was more directed towards the actual funds from ODC and where those have gone. But yes, Motran probably has a good finger on the pulse of those projects also.
Yes, and as from the city standpoint, Hal Feldman, our traffic director, is the one that's tracking that, and I can ask him to give us an update at the next meeting. We spent about $2 million, over $2 million during the current year.
Good. Yeah, that would be good. An update would be good at maybe our next meeting.
Okay.
Any other questions for Wesley? If not, we'll move on to Craig with CVA advertising.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. In our report, as you can see, our podcast are continuing to run. With my apologies to Willie Taylor, whose last name I misspelled. I have corrected that now on the record. So my apologies to Willie. He's a great guy. But that his podcast and Peggy Dean and Kirk Edwards are all three running right now. We did complete two new TV spots for the Permian Fuels America campaign, and it's running on all of our sports broadcasting and also the news programs. The new spots more demonstratively show how important the Permian Basin is to the oil and gas industry, and it also has the names of the resources that people can utilize to get help while they're sitting out the downturn and hoping for the turnaround in the oil and gas industry. Those are on the air right now, and all the normal programming that we run in. Outdoor advertising, we're still on our 3 outdoor billboards, all 3 some of the highest visible boards in Odessa, 8th and Dixie, Kermit Highway and Andrews Highway, and also on I-20 between Odessa and Midland. Our Permian Fuels America ads are every Sunday in the Odessa American, and those continue on. Social media, November was a little bit of a rough month for our website, but not for the Permian Fuels America website, which was interesting. November's numbers are down primarily because we had very good numbers in October. And in looking at those and trying to analyze what might be going on there, we had a few less posts, but we also had a national election and a COVID situation taking place that drew a lot of people's attention to those, I'm sure. The Permian Fuels America website, on the other hand, did very well. Our engagements were up and the Twitter profile was up 300%, which is very good. So, and we're expecting that we'll reach over 300 signatures on our petition by the end of this month. So that's very good. You can see the numbers there for the ODC website and also social media and also for the Permian Fuels America. But I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Any questions for Craig?
Okay. Good day.
While you were speaking, Craig, I don't think this has anything to do with you, but my computer said that my internet connection was unstable. Now, it might have been talking about the operator, but I'm not sure. So if I lose this some way, Wesley, would you jump in there and keep this meeting moving? But it froze for about 10 seconds there, but I think I'm back on good shape now.
I figured you were going to say that the content was unstable. All right.
Okay, thank you, Craig. The Black Chamber of Commerce, Gloria?
I'm here. This is Chris Walker.
Okay, Chris.
And we wanted to report that due to the fact that we're in a transitional period, as you know, that Brother Crawford has been sick and is no longer our president and CEO. We have officially received his letter of resignation. I have taken over as the president. We've had all of our information changed over. We revised our budget, got all of our paperwork signed, and I got it into Norma yesterday. It is signed and notarized. So we will have a report next month. The report for now that we have got everything transitioned over, changed over, and now we have got our paperwork signed and back into normal.
Okay, Chris, thank you. It's going to be, we'll miss Odell and hope that that he does well going forward. But congratulations in your role, and look forward to working with you on behalf of the board.
Well, I hope we have a great relationship.
Any questions for Chris? If not, we'll move on to the Hispanic Chamber, Serena Banuelos.
Hi, I am Serena, and all we have to report is that we did receive the funding from ODC as of the end of November. However, we are as well transitioning. Our CEO is no longer with us. Mr. Arnulfo Martinez is no longer with us. So I am serving as the interim right now, but we will start doing the ODC as early as January. We will start working with the economic development program that we had stated in our contract. And let's see, we opened a bank account, a separate bank account for the ODC funding for full transparency for ODC. So that's all we have to report right now.
Okay. Good luck to you, Serena. And are you going to go through a search for a permanent president, or I mean, you're the interim, or you anticipate that that's something that you may fulfill as permanently in the future?
As of right now, I believe that the board is looking for a CEO, and I'm just serving as an interim right now.
Okay. Any questions for Serena? Okay, thank you, Serena, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Tyler with UTPB.
Afternoon. Hope everybody's having a good day. Just wanted to go down some of the statistics, the report you have on the screen and in front of you. For the month of November, we had 497 counseling sessions. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. 284 counseling hours. We had 5 seminars with 45 attendees. 6 new businesses in the area opened. 3 of those were in Odessa. We did a little over 2.7 million in financing for the month, with about 59,000 of that in Odessa, and added 14 FTEs in the area. Just to give a little background on some of this, of those new businesses that I talked about, just in terms of generally what they do, there's an online t-shirt retailer, a mobile car wash, a mobile snow cone business that we'll be starting up, and a bookkeeping service. So as you can see, compared to the same time last year, a lot of the companies we're working with are on the small side. However, one of the interesting things is I've been doing some comparisons, year-over-year comparisons, and it really doesn't do that here. But in the report I did year-over-year, the number of counseling sessions we've had in October and November of this year compared to October, November last year is up 176%. So yeah, it's substantially more than what it was under normal operating conditions. Now, the first thing you would think is, and frankly what I thought, is how much of that is people because of the CARES Act. And that certainly had an impact. However, whenever we have somebody come in who needs help with the PPP or any other kind of disaster counseling, we give them a special code. We started that earlier this year, just so we know the difference. So when I take those clients out, we're still up over 100% from the same period of time last year. So I mean, what that tells me is, although the clients coming to us are oftentimes looking to start businesses that maybe only involve themselves, maybe one other person, so they're certainly on the small side, there's still a significant number of people reaching out to us to start new businesses. So I think at least in terms of The psychological feeling is people are still interested in starting new businesses in Middle Odessa, which I think is a great sign. I don't see it slowing down. Normally, this is our slow time of year from between Thanksgiving and December, and that has certainly not been the case. So anyway, any questions?
That's
Yeah, this is Gene. I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Are you doing in-person seminars? You mentioned those seminars that you're doing. Are these virtual or in-person?
Unfortunately, they still have to be virtual. So we're doing everything on Zoom. Now we've done about twice as many workshops or seminars this year as we've done last year. And that will continue. But yeah, we're not allowed to have anybody but students or basically the public can't come on campus. So to work around that, we're having to do them via Zoom.
Okay, and my next question is, now that the Black Chamber and the Hispanic Chambers are up and running,
Yes, sir.
are you gonna work with them on some of these seminars and all to get the word out to their constituents?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We send out information every month, but yeah, we can increase the amount of communication. Actually, I had met with Arnulfo at the Hispanic Chamber just, 6 weeks ago, and we were going to work together on some. And I would like to reach out to Serena and as well as Chris at the Black Chamber and make that same offer. We would love to co-host some workshops. We've got several different subject matters that we do. We're just not allowed to do anything in person right now.
Okay, thanks.
And those are University of Texas system rules. They're not our rules or SBDC rules at all. That is University of Texas.
Okay.
Any other questions for Tyler? Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Everybody have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
Motran, I thought I saw Dustin. I don't know if James is on the call as well.
I think you're stepping me. So we had a couple different deals. Most recently, we had our online webinar legislative outlook for 2020. I guess there's a French study in the internet service meeting. Talked a little bit about that last time. But our online webinar, we had the future speaker of the Texas House, the presumed speaker, Dade Phelan out of Beaumont. He was kind of our keynote. He started it off talking about what to expect in the 2021 session. And there were some good remarks by him and kind of stuck to what the future looks like for the House. He's going to be a new speaker and just kind of some politics there. We also had on Representative Landgraf to talk a little bit about the Permian Basin, a little bit about what he's going to be doing, and a little bit of the work he's doing on the Rules Committee for the Texas House and kind of what they expect with COVID and whatnot going forward. The most recent thing that we're hearing, and this may be of interest to you, Gene, I know you always ask about the legislature, is that they are anticipating for folks to testify or to go in the Capitol building during the session. They have to apply essentially 3 days prior and then provide a proof of a negative COVID test. So I know that the chamber is worried about not being able to go down for Midland Odessa days, but we still can send some folks when and if need be, and I'll kind of keep y'all updated as that goes. So that was what we found out of that meeting. We also had Congressman Mike Conaway of CD11 talk a little bit about him leaving the House and all he's done, and we thanked him at Motran with a bell, which is a new railroad bell that we're giving out to folks who have really been champions. And under his watch, he has helped bring a lot of good things to the Permian Basin. It's helped us out with some of our interstate initiatives, as well as the La Entrada El Pacifico route. So he's done a lot of good stuff for us, and we thanked him. And we also had on Congressman-elect August Pfluger, and he talked a little about what to expect going forward. And we've had some great conversations with him about our priorities in Midland, Odessa, with Interstate 14, Interstate 27, and overall funding and oil and gas interests in general. And he is well aware of a lot of the information we put out, a lot of our numbers, and he actually has had conversations with us about our Permian Basin freight study, which you see now. We also had on Christy Craddock, who is the chairwoman of the Railroad Commission. She talked a little bit about the oil and gas outlook, what to expect going forward for the state, a little bit about the revenues, the decrease in revenues due to oil and gas, and due to the economy being slowed down. I think this session, people will really be in tune with oil and gas activity and how it affects the overall budget. They can't spend as much money as legislators when we aren't performing as well. And so they really are seeing the impact that we in the Permian Basin have. And I think we're going to be able to use that for some leverage going into this next session to advocate for some more infrastructure improvements. We also had on the VP of ExxonMobil's pipeline division to talk about the new Wink to Webster pipeline that comes through our area, shipping Permian crude down to the coast from Wink to Webster, which is down there near the coast. It's over 1.5 million barrels per day in gas and oil that is being transferred down there. And so that is a big development on that front to get some Permian crude to the coast. And that is a big thing for the Permian Fuels America campaign as well. It's a good thing to be having a route to disseminate our Permian crude. That infrastructure is vitally important. Other than that, you have the Permian freight study in your report. There were some great numbers that came out of that, and that will also be one of our leveraging topics going into the session. The over 30% of total Texas freight originates here in the Permian Basin. That'll be something that we use to advocate for more roadway infrastructure improvements. And then, Gene, you kind of stole my thunder about the 87th project, and we're very happy about that they are beginning to work on that. That is, you're going to be seeing a lot of projects that have been kind of all that initial funding up front. It takes years for these projects to actually take place after going through environmental processes and planning and all that. And we're starting to see the fruits of that labor. Along with that is also the 385 and 338 on the north side of town overpass is beginning its construction. That's about a $20 million project, of which the leveraging was a part of the city of Odessa, and everybody participated in that one. And then coming down the pike is going to be 385 and the South Loop 338 next year in 2021, around September is what we're believing is going to be the kind of breaking the ground date on that one. So you are seeing the loop is continually upgrading piece by piece. We're knocking that out, and a lot of that came from City Council and from ODC and from GROW and everybody participating in that. And it's some real progress. I believe that the 8th Street overpass is kind of the last one of the loop projects, but that's in the works as well. All those projects have been bumped up, and we're very successful. We're starting to see the fruits of those labor. The construction is everywhere, and I hear people kind of moaning and groaning about it, but it means that progress is happening. And so it's a good sign for Odessa, that's for sure. And with that, that's pretty much all I got.
Dustin, would you do me a favor? Request with regard to Gene's question earlier and Cindy's response. Would you interface with the city? I think what would be good for us to have at our next meeting would be a report, obviously, of what's the status of our funding, but additionally, some kind of understanding, because I'm not sure the city has probably a full grasp like you do of each one of those projects and where they are on the drawing board, maybe some kind of estimated timeline. And again, it's not going to be perfect. We understand those things take forever and whatnot. But I think if there could be some kind of a combined report that would obviously give us an understanding of how our funds are being spent, what the status is, but also the overall status of those projects and where they might be finished and whatnot. I think that would be real helpful to us.
Absolutely. It's actually something I've been working on David, because we have seen so much progress, and I kind of wanted to put it all together. So I've
Yeah,
preliminarily been working on it, but I absolutely can because, like you said, some were city projects, but like the 87th one is a county road with a state road. So state's got the intersection, but there's an 87th Street expansion that's also underway, and that's county. And so we can combine all three entities of state, county, and city projects and kind of timelines if you'd like to see that. And then the allocations, absolutely. I think that would be a great picture, and we can do that.
that'd be great. Great.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Dustin? Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate it. Cindy?
Yes, Wesley, would you mind moving down to September's report first, please? There you go. Good afternoon. Total assets of the ODC at the end of September was $57 million. We still have 150,000 outstanding on the SBD business challenge from the 18-19 fiscal year. If y'all recall, this is the human being, and I do believe they're under construction at this point. I don't believe they've requested any funding yet from UTPB. So as far as our short-term commitments, all of these minus the second half of the West Texas Food Bank are actually with Weaver's Compliance Division, and they're doing their compliance testing on glaziers, on Odessa College final payment, and on the annual UTPB payment. Hopefully those will be finished next week, I believe is what they told me they hope to accomplish. If you'll scroll down just a little bit, Wes. So here you see the assigned TxDOT project amount remaining, 9.135890. So the ODC commitment was 11,500,000, and so you can see we've spent a little over $2 million on that. The $5 million that was set aside for the workhouse housing infrastructure is there's been very little spent out of that. So that leaves your unreserved fund balance at $27.8 million. If you'll go to the next page. So for the year, revenues came in at 12.8 million. So we were about $500,000 over. Our expenditures, let me back up just a minute. Sales tax, at the end of the fiscal year, when the auditors are doing the audit, we actually have to do an adjustment to the accrual. And so this may change slightly because our payments have been going down. So this may change slightly by the time the audit's completed. We're showing total expenses of 5.8 at this time. So net for the year was 6.9, beginning fund balance of 49.9. So that gives you to your ending balance. On the next page, this is your change in reserves. And again, these are the ones that we're thinking will pay out still this year, except the food bank. And we've done a follow-up with the food bank to see if they've completed the refrigerator freezer install and see if they're going to get that request into us for the $500,000 that's left. The remaining pages is your investments. Our choices of investments under our investment policy are kind of slim these days. The rates are pretty bad. So we're looking at some options. So we hope to be doing some moving around with some of the funds and trying to get some out of the money market account and get it either in one of our pools or see if we can find any municipal securities that'll give us a decent interest rate. So if you'll go back up to October then. Oh, okay, not a whole lot of change here. Again, 57.5 million in assets. Again, the payable. Here, the current amount has gone up because we've added, this is the first month of the new year. So we have added in the next year's, the payment that it's expected to be paid out in this year on the different incentive agreements. And so that number's changed. Again, there wasn't any change in the assigned amounts for the month. And there's your unreserved fund balance at 28 million. In the following page, there was not a lot of activity during the month of October. Our sales tax came in at 777,209. We had basically our quarterly payments go out, some marketing expenses. So a net of 414,797 for the month. And I'll be glad to, on this page, you can see this is where we're adding in the next year's payments that are expected to come out. And so those come out of your long-term portion. And then the rest is your investments. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Cindy?
So basically, we did not overspend what we didn't have this year.
Well, actually, I mean, we had a pretty decent year as far as revenues. We barely made sales tax. I do think that's going to come down a little bit with the accrual because the months since then, we got a sales tax report yesterday for December, and ODC's portion was $766,573. So we're still good to budget, but we're behind last year quite a bit. But, you know, last year was big until we hit March, April. So that's expected. So, but yes, we had a lot of money. We have a big budget in business incentives every year. Basically, we budget the majority of the rest of our fund balance, and there wasn't any really big projects that that got handed out this last fiscal year. So,
But hopefully that'll change soon,
so,
sometime within the next several months.
yes.
Be good to see something going in the actual.
Yes. I did, while we were going through the meeting, I did pull up the amount of funding, the 11.5 million was divided up in. Would y'all like for me to go over that with y'all? Or do you just want to wait till next month and get a full report?
I think it'd be more productive if we looked at it in general with all the other information. I think that'd be very productive then.
Okay, we will do
I
that.
agree. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Okay, we are up to the committee and officer reports. Wesley, I'm assuming partnership did not meet.
We have not met. We're going to try to kick those back off with some Zoom after the first of the year.
Okay, and
David,
tax.
David, I apologize.
Go
Do we
ahead.
need any motions on some of that stuff? I missed that.
Yeah, we do. We do need on Cindy's report. We do need a motion. I'm sorry.
I'll make that motion to accept those financials.
Second.
Good catch. Thank you. Any further discussion? The motion is second to approve the finance presented. All those in favor signify by aye.
All right.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Tax Incentive Committee, I think that will happen probably within the next 30 days. Wesley, right?
Yeah, Odessa College did provide a replacement for their member. So we do have a good group that are all within their term, and we usually meet annually to approve current tax abatements, but we will also probably meet this year to look at some possible ones coming up.
Okay. Advertising, Gene?
Well, we're doing the program. I'm going to have to get with Craig, and we may have to find a new football team to follow, since they're not even carrying the Cowboys anymore on national network. So we may have to talk about where to put those wonderful ads that we're doing right now.
Seems like Kansas City might be our best bet right now.
Well, I'll vote for that.
Well, and even, you know, on they were on Channel 9, which has some kind of fight going with DirecTV and maybe other carriers. It wasn't even on, so. I agree. Advertising's going well. The downtown committee, Chris or Gene? Did y'all meet?
No, sir.
No, we're waiting on Robert to call that meeting, because I understand we do have some applicants that we need to review.
Okay.
And as soon as he does that, we'll be able to report something.
That is
Right.
correct. I've received information from downtown Odessa that we do have some applications in the pipe. I have not been given those applications to review prior to the design committee reviewing those either. So as soon as I'm given those and review them, we'll set a meeting.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is discuss emergency assistance options. And I know there have been some things in the works. I don't know whether Tim had anything that he wanted to present in this regard. Wesley, do you know if there was anything he had on his mind?
He did not mention anything for this meeting for that.
Okay. Any questions or anything that we need to pursue in that regard? Or just wait till next month and see if we can get an update there? Okay. Update on the task force. I had some communication with Kirk Edwards. And as you might understand, with the election, you know, the major elections that were held at the state level and at the federal level, you know, all of that hadn't shaken out yet, especially at the federal level. So if you think about, you know, how do we pursue Permian Fuels America, other than obviously the wonderful spots that we're running and whatnot, but the strategy with regard to convincing our state and federal governments to more favorably treat the Permian Basin in its efforts to produce, it'd be almost impossible to determine a strategy, because number one, at the federal level, you know, we don't really know, you know, which party's going to be in power to what degree. And at the state level, I know there was some pretty good gains made by one party, but yet all of that hasn't settled out. And I know Kirk had indicated to me, in fact, he sent me a text. Let me read you a portion of it. Said that they want to go to a legislative summit with Texas folks put on by TPFA around February the 1st. And then once the Texas and U.S. newly elected guys are in, you know, whoever those candidates were who end up being successful and gaining office, then we'll understand, certainly with the consultant that we're using out of Austin and our other contacts at the federal level, I think we'll have a lot better understanding of what the lay of the land is. Then we can formulate a strategy with regard to, all right, how do we attack that situation now? Because things are going to change. To what degree, we just don't know at this point. So I would anticipate a report, a meaningful report in February with regard to, you know, what strategy we're going to, is recommended, and how we could implement that strategy.
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that I spoke with the consultant in San Antonio this morning, and she and Kirk have already started in on that work in defining that strategy and seeing where we move forward in the future.
Right. The other item that Kirk indicated that they were working on is they were successful in a request to UTPB to put together some type of a presentation that would reflect when foreign oil is purchased as opposed to Permian Basin oil, what is the economic impact to the state and certainly to the area. So UTPB is doing that data research and putting together, I'm sure, algorithms to reflect that, doing whatever calculations they can and analysis that they can to determine what that impact is. That will be a part of our argument, particularly at the state level. So,
And David, we do have a draft of that. They've gotten something back to us to look over, and Kirk obviously is the expert there from the industry side. So he was looking through it all and making sure the thought process was correct and those kinds of things. So that's where that is. It's pretty much to a stage that is an understandable, but they wanted to make sure the information was communicated in the right way and the numbers actually reflected what was felt was correct. So be happy to get you a copy of that, but understand it would be a draft and probably not in its final form as far as some of the data and the conclusions.
well, what I might suggest is that to go to Kirk and ask him if he would like to present that information at our January meeting.
Okay.
Again, I think we'll hold that, we'll keep that powder dry until we determine the finality of these elections. And so how what is our presentation going to look like? It'll be, obviously that'll be folded into it, but it would be nice for us to see that in January if it's in its final form.
Yes, sir.
Everybody on the board comfortable with that?
Mr. Chairman, I would also say that we already have plans underway to produce a 5th TV spot based on the information on that report.
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment, and this is going back when Dr. Perryman and Lorraine made their presentation after he did that report, and we got into a discussion about the changing tides of the political landscape. And at that point, we talked about broadening our scope just in case there was a change in leadership. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit more. I've been talking with Kirk quite a bit lately about that very thing, because we may have to approach it and approach people who have not been normally a part of the process when it comes to lawmakers. And so yeah, we had that discussion, if you remember, back last spring. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about that even more.
You bet. Good point. Okay, any questions regarding the task force update? Any other comments? Well, if there's nothing else, then I am going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for everyone for participation. It's a good, productive meeting.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.